One thing that I've realized over the years is that your testimonies come in all shapes and sizes, and miracles come in all shapes and sizes. And from a testimony of someone that uh, where their children got work, to a testimony where someone was raised from the dead, um, there's 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 value in each and every one of those testimonies. It's not a small testimony or a big testimony. You see value in each and every testimony, because for that person it was God's hand at work in his life. um, and we have a young man. Well, he's a bit older than me, but he's still young. We've got a young man in the village, and he's been journeying with us for a couple of years now. And it's so awesome to also see the transformation in his life, and how he's grown in his faith, and in relationship with God. His his story is very similar to a lot of the men that we come across. Um, he had a stable job, lost his job, started drinking. Life was bad. It was really not good for him. He was suffering from epileptic attacks as well. Um, it was so bad. Um, Even after we met him and after he gave his life to Jesus, and the funny thing is, he also grew up in church. He also went to church and all that stuff. And after we met him, he rededicated his life to God. And even in that year, he was traveling between villages, walking between villages, and he had an epileptic attack, which was so bad he almost bit off his tongue. um, and you know, and to see the amazing change and amazing transformation that's happened in his life. Earlier this year, I spoke to him again, um, because he left the villages for a period, to go and find work, and he got a stable job and all that stuff. Um, and then his contract ended, and he had to come back to the village. And earlier this year, I asked him, how's it going with the drinking, and how's it going with the epileptic attacks and stuff like that. And it was so encouraging for me to hear, his words. And he said, since he came back after his contract expired, he hasn't touched alcohol. He hasn't had one drink, and he hasn't had any epileptic attacks at all. And he said that it's a choice that he made, um, and even inside of the village, the other men actually recognize that choice. They don't ask him, please come and drink with us anymore, because they can see that he's made a choice in his life. They can see something different in his life as well. And that kind of reminded me of that scripture in Romans 8. I think that Romans 8 verse 6, that talks about the mind that is set on the flesh and the mind that is set on the spirit. And I want to read that out of Amplified, because it's so rich, and it so gives me such encouragement out of the Amplified when I read that. Romans 8 verse 6, and it says, now the mind of the flesh is death, both now and forever, because it pursues sin. But the mind of the spirit is life and peace, the spiritual well-being that comes from walking with God, both now and forever. And that's one amazing thing, that he made a choice to set his mind on the spirit. And you can see that in his life. There's life and there's peace inside of him. Before that, his mind was set on the things of the flesh, drinking, money, all the fleshly desires, if you can say it like that. um, and like I say, it's so awesome to have seen the difference in his life. And that is my my encouragement, what I take from this whole thing and from his testimony, is let us set our minds on the things of the Spirit, because the Spirit brings life and the Spirit gives peace. If you live in that place, if you live out of God's kingdom, we live a life dedicated to God. We live in peace, knowing that we live for Him. So if there's one thing I can pray over your life, if you're watching this, one thing I can share, one thing I can pray over your life is that we will continue to live in peace, and we will continue to live in the Spirit. Our minds will be set on God. Our minds will be set on the kingdom. Our minds will be set on the Spirit of life. So be blessed in that. Be strong in that. Continue to set your mind on the things of heaven. Continue to set your mind on the things of the Spirit. So be blessed and have an amazing day. Blessings. Bye-bye.